So we're continuing our reading of Isopanisad, Mantra 18. Agne nayasu patarayasman.
Agni naya supataraye asman.
Vishvani deva vayunani vidvan.
Vishwani deva vayuyani vidvan.
Yuyodyasmaj juhuranameno.
Yuyodhi asmasuranaminu.
Uyeshtam te nama uktim videma.
Vishtham te nam uktim videma. Agne naya supataraye asman.
Agnenaya supataraya yasman.
Vishwani deva vayunani vidvan.
Vishvani deva vayunani vidvan.
Yodhi asmasuranam ino.
Yuyodhyasmaj juhuranam meno.
Vishtham te nam uktim videma.
Bhuyashtam te nama uktim videma.
O my Lord, as powerful as fire, O omnipotent one, now I offer you all my obeisances, falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me to the right path, to reach you. And since you know all that I have done in the past, please free me from the reaction to my past sins so that there will be no hindrance to my progress.
Some additional things just coming to mind from the translation. This is a very integral part of a devotee of the Lord is humility. And here in this prayer, the devotee is offering obeisance to the Lord, and also he's mentioning falling on the ground at your feet. So this is dandavat, completely falling down. And this is indicating that quality of humility, that we are very small and very helpless, and we're like beggars, and we're just praying for the Lord to protect us and help us and guide us. Especially here, the devotees, the devotee in all humility is praying, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And that's one of the qualities that we should have is, feeling we're completely ignorant. We don't know anything. I don't know who I am or why I'm here or why I'm suffering or how to get out of suffering. And we're praying for the Lord for guidance, that guidance. Just like that's why we have a guru, right? Because we're ignorant and we need guidance. We need direction. I'm lost. I'm completely lost. I've got no direction. And so we approach the guru for direction. The same, the Lord can guide us, like we've said before. Another name of bhakti yoga is buddhi yoga, the intelligence. The buddhi is coming from the Lord. It's not that I'm intelligent. It's not that I'm following buddhi yoga, I'm so intelligent. It's not meaning that we have separate intelligence, that I'm super intelligent. It's meaning that because you're serving the Lord and he's pleased by your service, he's giving you the intelligence. Okay, go there and, talk to that person or listen to that person and avoid this situation. This is not good for you. Stay away from that. So in our heart, the Paramatma, the super soul, gives the devotee good intelligence as to, go this way, don't go that way, do this, don't do that, like that. So that guidance is coming from the Lord. But the Lord is only giving the devotee guidance because the devotee wants it. He wants it. I mean, the Lord wants to give guidance to everyone, but he doesn't. Why? Because most people don't want it. Most people they don't acknowledge even the Lord exists. And, and even if they do, they don't want, any guidance from him. But the very rare soul who's more conscious of reality realizes I'm so ignorant, I'm such a fool, I don't know anything, I want guidance, and then the Lord gives it from within our heart, and also and then he appears externally as so many gurus, to give us guidance if we're open to it. But only those that are receptive get that, both internally and externally, get that help from God, if they're open to it like that. You want to say anything about that?
Yeah. I think God only reciprocates if you are showing interest. Otherwise, I mean, it's first we have to start it, right? That's what he's looking for.
Yes. Yeah.
That's very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So many times I hear people, and I even hear this from devotees, that if God wants, it'll happen. If God wants, it'll happen. If God wants, it won't happen, like that. But it's not so. It's not so simple, really. There's more to it than that. To say that, if God wants me to go to the temple, I'll go, or whatever like that. Or if God wants me to go back to Godhead, I will. But more than that, we should see that, what do we want? Do we want to be, do we want to go to the temple? Do we want to go back to Godhead? And then the Lord's going to see in our heart, what do we want? And then he's going to help with that. Do you want to, is your goal sense gratification, or is your goal to give the Lord sense gratification? So the Lord wants to see what we want. And so just to say, that I'll go to the temple if Krishna wants me to go. It's not, Krishna wants everyone to come to the temple, but most people don't want to go, so only a few go that really want to go. So, yeah, that's all we really have as an individual soul. We're conscious, we have consciousness. So how are we going to use that consciousness? What do we want? What do we desire? And then God does the rest. He makes your legs walk and your hands move and everything happen. Everything else is happening by the demigods and him making all arrangements. But all we're really doing is desiring. So that's very important, to cultivate the right desires. And that's the whole Vedic culture, is to help us to form the right desires, because mostly we have all wrong desires. And and Prabhupada's going to talk about that Brahminical culture. Brahminical culture is helping us to develop the right kind of desires, to want to love God, to want to serve him, and everything like that. So
yeah, I mean, that's he want to change our heart. I mean, and the other thing, fact, you said that we, as people say, if they say that that, oh, wherever Krishna will take me, but he has put us in this world to do something, there's a goal. So you can't just sit and leave it to Krishna. The effort has to come from inside as well. I mean, that's also a part of it, but once you have knowledge, but effort have to come from us. I mean, because we have been put in this world. Isn't that right? We have been put in this world. So, and the other thing is that he can force everything, but he want change in the heart. He want to change in the, it has to come from myself or the person itself, the change, not by force. So that's why he has, I think that's why he has put us in this world, and then slowly understand. He gives this and that, and the difficulties in the life, they are just because reminding us, oh, where are you going wrong, man? So everything is going against you. Basically, it's not going against you. It's trying to push you, align you to what God wants us. So that alignment, we are against it, then we suffer. That's what we keep suffering.
Yeah.
That's very good. Yeah, that's we have to put our.
I mean, it is there, okay, whatever God wants. Okay, but if that's what if you put out that desire to the Lord, that I'm surrendering to you, God, Krishna, I'll do whatever you want. I want to be your puppet, your instrument, like that. But then after you desire that, then be prepared that, whatever direction he takes you, you should surrender to that. Don't just say it and then when something happens that you don't want to happen, then you resist that. Then no, like that. Otherwise, see, what we're really trying to do is just line up our desires with his desires. We've talked about that before. Surrendering, one aspect of surrender means to dovetail or, line up your desires with his desires. So like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna wants the battle to happen. In the beginning, Arjuna didn't want to fight, but that's a different desire than what Krishna wants. And then by the end of the hearing from Krishna's instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna surrendered and said, okay, you want me to fight, Krishna, then I'll fight. I mean, personally, I don't want to fight, but if you want me to fight, then I'll fight. So he lined up his desires with Krishna. So yeah, that's where we want to get to that point where what we want is in line with what Krishna wants, like that. And that makes the Lord happy, and that makes us happy. It's like if you're a father, if you've got obedient children, would you rather have obedient children or rebellious children?
Obedient, obviously.
Yeah, obedient children, yeah. Like that. So that's, and if the child, like we're saying, like what you said, is voluntarily, so it's not that you force them to be obedient, but voluntarily they're obedient, because that's also not going to be a pleasing situation where you have to force them to be obedient. Because I'm stronger than you, I'm going to make you do it, but rather if they say, yes, Dad, I'm happy to do that, that's what you want. Okay, I'm happy to do that. Not that you have to drag them, to do what you want. That's the ideal situation, and also, so that's, to have to force them to be obedient, it's not good. And also if they're rebellious, that's not good. The best is that they're, completely obedient, and that's, they're choosing to do that, and that's love, that, and that's love, like that, and that's intelligent. Okay, I'm living in my parents' house and they're maintaining me and protecting me and everything like that, so whatever they say, I should do it, so that's intelligent to recognize that, to not care that, okay, they're maintaining me and protecting me and everything like that, and financing everything, but I still don't care about what they say. That's just an idiot. That's like a moron. That we don't care about that, and we still go against the people. What is it? There's a saying, right? Don't something about the hand that feeds you. Don't hit the hand that feeds you, or don't bite the hand that feeds you, or something like that. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I never heard that, but I can relate. I mean, yeah,
it's some old saying from somewhere, I don't know. It's saying like, don't hit the hand that feeds you. It's like, if you're receiving something, don't go, because you're hurting yourself. If you go against the person that's maintaining you and protecting you and everything, obviously you're self-defeating.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I mean, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Yeah,
it's something like that. Don't bite the hand that feeds you, or
don't bite. Yeah, don't bite. I've just looked at the internet. That's just
okay. Yeah, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, even you have that, right? In Indian culture, I've actually seen that where Indian mothers take it to an extreme, where they'll personally put food in their child's mouth, even at quite a old child, not just when they're a little baby, of course, but they'll even do it when they're like, a young man, they'll still be putting food in the mouth. So obviously, they're feeding you. You don't bite that hand, it's for your benefit. And they don't have to do that. That's out of their love that they're feeding you. Don't go and bite that hand, because then you might not get the food anymore, and then you're a goner.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so we only read one paragraph, so you could start off from where it says self-realization.
Self-realization is possible in the human form of life, but not in other forms. There are 8,400,000 species or form of life, of which the human form qualified by Brahmanical culture presents the only chance to obtain knowledge of transcendence. Brahmanical culture includes truthfulness, sense control, forbearance, simplicity, full knowledge, and full faith in God. It is not that one simply becomes proud of his high parentage. Just as being born the son of a big man affords one a chance to become a big man, so being born of the son of a Brahmana gives one a chance to become a Brahman. But such a birthright is not everything, for one still has to attain the Brahmanical qualification for himself. As soon as one becomes proud of his birth as the son of Brahmana and neglects to acquire the qualification of a real Brahmana, he at once becomes degraded and falls from the path of self realization. Thus, his life mission as a human being is defeated.
Yeah. So this is what makes the human being special and important, is that it gives an opportunity for self-realization. So this is what separates the human being from non-human beings, is that the human being can develop self-realization and the non-humans can't generally. And of course, it's not automatic, that, and a lot of human beings don't develop that. Therefore, the scriptures say that if the human being doesn't go down the path of self-realization, that is no better than an animal, dvipad pashu, two-legged animal. So how is that self-realization developed? Well, one thing also is that he's mentioned 8,400,000 species, that's in the universe, and only 400,000 of those are various human species. So it's quite rare. We should understand that it's very rare to get a human body, and the human body is the only one that's giving an opportunity to get, to develop self-realization. And why do we want self-realization? Because through self-realization, only by that we can get liberated. We can get the moksha, the mukti, from the suffering of the material life, like that. So, and further qualification of what it means to a human being is that, saying here, human form qualified by Brahminical culture presents the only chance to obtain knowledge of transcendence. So to develop self-realization, that is developed, that self-realization, through knowledge. We need knowledge. The reason why we're in the material world, why we continue to be in the material, is because of ignorance. So the opposite of that is what we need. We need knowledge. We have to get out of the ignorance, so we need knowledge. So it's through knowledge that we can become self-realized. An ignorant person cannot become self-realized, so we need knowledge. So the path of acquiring knowledge, that's called Brahminical culture. So it's a culture, a cultivation of knowledge, a development of knowledge. So we need to accept all those things in our life that help us develop knowledge, and reject those things that don't. So what helps us develop knowledge? Well, some of them are mentioned here. Truthfulness, satyam, truthfulness. So this is a Brahminical quality, and this is educated, trained, and taught in Brahminical culture to be truthful. And there's one story in regards to truthfulness that Prabhupada tells, that one boy, he wanted to become a disciple of Gautam Rishi. And Gautam Rishi, he would only accept a Brahmana as his disciple, as a suitable person to become a disciple. He had to be a Brahmana, have the qualities of a Brahmana. So Gautam asked the boy, "Who is your father?" Because by knowing who the father is, you can tell, know whether it's a Brahmana or a Kshatriya or Vaishya or Sudra. So the boy said, "I don't know who my father is." And Gautam said, okay, ask your mother and come and tell me what she says. So he went back and asked his mother, and the mother and the mother said, I don't know who your father is. So obviously her character wasn't so good. She was some kind of like prostitute kind of person. And so she said, I don't know who your father is. So he went back and said that to Gautam, which was obviously a bit embarrassing, and it'd be nice to cover that up and tell a lie. But he told the truth. He said, my mother said that she doesn't know who my father is. So Gautam Rishi accepted the boy as his disciple. Why?
Because he told the truth.
Because he told the truth. And that's what one of the main qualities of a Brahmana is. So if someone tells the truth, then you can tell what mode they're in. Because also what we should say is that, because everything in the universe fits into either Sattvagun, Rajagun, or Tamagun. So Brahmana means the mode of goodness. That's Sattvagun. And in the mode of goodness, like we've been talking about, knowledge develops. So, and one of the qualities in Sattvagun is truthfulness. And in that having that quality, then the knowledge, we can cultivate the knowledge very well. So because that boy told the truth, where, it was quite difficult to do that, and he still did it. And so that then Gautam could tell that he has that quality of goodness. He has that, even though his father wasn't a Brahmana or his mother wasn't a Brahmana, but that he has that quality. So that doesn't necessarily disqualify us that, okay, my father is not in the mode of goodness or my mother's not in the mode of goodness, but we can still cultivate that. We can still develop that. And Prabhupada's mentioning it later on in this purport, that one shouldn't be proud of our parentage, and it's not automatic that if your father's a Brahmana, it's not automatic that you're going to be a Brahmana. And especially if you become proud that, oh, my father's a Brahmana or whatever, my family, and you become proud of that, then definitely you're disqualified. Because important quality that if we really have knowledge, like I said, is humility. We should be humble. If you're proud, means you're ignorant. It means you're ignorant, because that's not true. That's not true. Are we really big? No, we're just so small. We're so insignificant. We're so ignorant, like that. So these are the qualities that someone has in the mode of goodness. So by the symptoms a person is displaying, you can tell what they are. And this is just logical, scientific stuff. If you're a doctor, you'll have certain qualities. You can cure your patient from their disease. If you say, I'm a doctor, and every single one of your patients has died, then obviously that's not very good. Or, I'm a mechanic. Okay, but, that every single car that you worked on was even worse. It didn't work, after you worked on it. No. But, if the cars work and, the patient's healed, and, like some people like me, right? I couldn't watch, someone's body being cut open and blood and seeing all the blood and guts and everything. So, I couldn't be a doctor. I couldn't operate on someone and chop them up and that. But some people, they have that nature. They have no problem with cutting open bodies and pulling out bits and putting in new bits and doing things like that. So you've got to have the qualities that match, your occupation. So in the same way, in the mode of goodness, Brahminical culture, there's certain qualities that should be there. So Prabhupada mentions, and this is mentioned in many of the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita also mentions in the 18th chapter, Krishna says the qualities of a Brahmana, and also the Srimad Bhagavatam talks about it. So yeah, the next one mentions sense control. So control the senses, and also control the mind. That has to be there. If you can't control the senses, like the tongue and the belly, the genitals like that, then, obviously that's not Brahminical culture. And so when we take shelter of the spiritual master, that's what he's training us. That no eating meat, no taking intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. This is controlling the senses. So that's the education we're getting. We're getting educated, trained by the guru to control the senses. You walk past McDonald's or KFC, but you got to control yourself. Even if there is attraction, I mean there might not be attraction, but even if there is attraction, you don't go down that path. You've got to say no. I'm not allowed to do this. This is not what my spiritual master wants or Krishna wants like that. I'm not going to eat this. I'm not going to drink this. I mean, you mentioned how you gave up drinking tea. So that's controlling the senses. The senses I may want to drink it, but this is not good for my spiritual life, so I'm not going to do it like that. So this is sense control. And forbearance, that means like tolerance. So this is also a Brahminical quality, being tolerant. Yeah. Sometimes also, we may take to spiritual path, and many people may give some insults or criticism like that. Many times like that, like if you're even going on Harinam or chanting, people say, oh, why don't you get a job? What are you doing? Just all this dancing, like that. You're just taking drugs, and that's why you're so happy and you're dancing and everything like that. So people may criticize or give insults or physically attack. I know in some countries, even the devotees get physically attacked. I mean, even the early days of ISKCON, it was against the law. It was illegal to chant on the streets. Like even in Australia, believe it or not, 50 years ago in Australia, that's in the history of ISKCON, that devotees were thrown in jail because they chanted on the street. And so you have to tolerate so much, and when they were released from jail, what did they do? Did they give up? No, they went out and chanted again. So they were very tolerant. If you're not tolerant, then you're just going to give up. When it gets too difficult, when it gets too hard, then you're going to give up. Or like, there's difficulty in getting up early in the morning to go to Mangalarti or whatever if you're living in a temple. I don't get up exactly the same time now. I'm not living in a temple. But whenever I live in a temple, I make myself get up at 4 a.m. because I know Mangalarti is at 4:30. So I make myself get up at 4 a.m. And even though I might feel sleepy or, tired or not well or whatever, but I force myself to do that because that's the training that, if there's some feeling of discomfort or anything like that, you just have to tolerate it. You just have to overcome that. And this is, controlling the senses and tolerance, like that. So sometimes it's too hot, sometimes it's too cold. You just have to tolerate. Prabhupada points out in Bhagavad Gita, famous verse about tolerating is 2:14, chapter 2, text 14, talking about tolerance. And in the purport, Prabhupada mentions even it's hot summer, but the wife will still cook in the kitchen. It's not that, it's too hot, I'm not going to cook. No, you have to cook. You have to cook for your family. It doesn't matter whether it's hot or cold or whatever, or that, it's too cold, I'm not going to get up for Mangalarti, it's too cold. No, mate, you still have to get up, so it doesn't matter. You just have to tolerate the external, changes, sometimes too hot, too cold, or you're feeling good or you're not feeling good or whatever, but you just have to pass through that. And that helps you to actually realize that you're not the body. And this is talking about how, like we're saying, mode of goodness, right, is helping you self-realization, to get knowledge. So if you're pushing through all those external problems, it's too hot, it's too cold, I'm feeling good, I'm not feeling good, all this thing, I'm happy, I'm sad. But if you just push through that, what knowledge do you get? What's the result?
Because you're doing the right, you realize you get, Is that right? I mean, because you're tolerating all the body, because you know that
Yes.
this.
So, yep. Yeah, continue.
So what you're getting is you getting realization that doing right thing. Okay, maybe I'm not. I don't understand. And you go ahead. Yeah, I think what I think is that it's just um, yeah. Obviously, you have right thing too. Doesn't matter what your body is saying. If right thing you have to do. So you realize, and
Yeah.
then once you get the result of that realization happens, then you realize the importance of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I understand completely, but can
Well,
answer.
one thing you get out of doing that, out of doing your duty in any circumstance, just pushing through the obstacles, one thing you realize is that you're not the body. And
Yeah,
that's the theory, right? The theory is that you're not the body, you're a soul, but how do you
yeah,
realize that? So that's one way to help you realize that as you push through or you tolerate all these external obstacles and push through. And then eventually you realize, well, I'm not the body. The body's not important. I mean, the body is important to some degree, but the main importance is for the soul. And when you act as a soul, ignoring the body, oh, the body says, I mean, the mind says, oh, I'm tired, I want to sleep, but you push through that. No, you're not acting as that body, because the body says, the body and the mind says, no, I want to sleep. But the soul says, no, I want to go to Monglarity. So when you do that, then it helps you to actually realize, when you apply that knowledge, that no, I'm not the body, I'm the soul.
yeah,
And then you actually come to the point where you realize that, and then you become kind of invincible to all those external things, and the body and the mind is, I like that, I don't like that, this is good, this is bad, or the mind is always coming up with so much stuff. But you transcend that, you go above that, and then nothing can affect you anymore, and you become peaceful. Even though it's chaos around you, it's all completely insane around you, but you can still be peaceful in that situation if you can just transcend that idea that we're the body and the mind and everything like that, because that's what we're conditioned to think, we're the body, or even that we're the mind. But no, we're not the body or the mind, we're the soul. So how do you break that cycle of thinking you're the body and the mind? You got to act as a soul. So you have to do your duty to please God, whether it's, it's my duty to cook for my family, or it's my duty to, do the puja in the temple in Monglarity or whatever like that, to chant japa and whatever things, to go out and preach, you just do that. So that helps you to break that. Because otherwise we're always led around by what the body wants. I eat that. Come on, eat this. Or, just sleep forever, or whatever like that, or drink beer and go to the pub. And, the body and the mind is always dragging us around. It's compared that the five senses are like five horses. So it's, that, have you read that analogy? You would have read that. It's like we're in a chariot with five horses, so it's like dragging us everywhere. So we have to control the horses, the senses, so sense control. We have to control those, like you have reins, right? So, and the driver has to hold the reins and pull back the horses. You don't just let them go anywhere. So that in spiritual advancement, you have to control those horses of the senses like that.
yeah. That's very
That's,
good example. I mean, yeah, that's practical example of you are not a body. I mean, and it's just kind of practical application of it. I think that's
yeah,
pretty good. Yeah, in that sense, that you or I think in our life we also got discipline. Not listening to your mind. You're doing right thing, what
yeah,
it is. So it kind
yeah,
of, yeah. So I think, yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, you work for soul rather than body. Body is saying, I
yeah,
don't want to get up for Mangalarati,
yeah,
but you still do it. You ignore it because
yeah,
body or mind was settled. Body basically is not. You have to transcend as you go beyond that. So
yeah,
that's the, and then self realization comes, and that's
yeah,
be done.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
very good example of, yeah,
yeah.
of we are not body. Yeah.
Because that's what self-realization is. What people ask, well, what is self-realization? It means to realize that you are the soul, you're not the body. it's said, so it's either we're in the bodily conception of life, that we think we're the body. I'm a Kiwi, I'm an Indian, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm this and that. Or you have the spiritual conception, the self-realization that I'm a spirit soul, and the spirit soul is a servant of Krishna. And so if you're really in that conception, I'm a soul, I'm a servant of Krishna, then you have to do what Krishna wants. Krishna wants you to get up and go to the temple for Mangalari, then you go. Krishna wants you to go and, grow vegetables, then you do that. Krishna wants you to, fight and protect the people, then you do that. Krishna wants you to do what your boss says, then you do that. So like that. And so that's self-realization. That, okay, I'm a soul, I have to be obedient to God. I have to be obedient to Krishna, to the spiritual master, like that. So this is Brahminical culture.
Yeah. And
then, so tolerance, forbearance, and then simplicity. Simplicity, what is simplicity? It's not in the sense that simple means, oh, you're really stupid, you're really simple. Some people use that in a sort of a negative context. Oh, that guy, he's real simple, means he's like not very smart. But this is simple means honesty. This is what simple means here. Simple means you're very straightforward. That in that sense, it's a very positive quality. Simple means you're a straightforward person. You're very honest. Or you could look at it another way. The word non-duplicitous.
Yeah, they are not. They don't have say something and do something else.
Yeah. So Prabhupada often also gives that meaning to the word simple as non-duplicitous. Duplicitous means what you said. You say one thing but means something else, which means you're cheating. Really, you're not being straightforward. You're really crooked person. Because that could say the opposite, right? You have a simple person, just straight, and you have a crooked person. So we don't want to be crooked. We want to be just very simple. What we say is what we mean. So that's what it means by simple here. What you say is what you mean. What's in your heart is what comes out of your mouth. Not you're on outside, you're pretending you're a real gentleman, but internally you're a real rascal, inside, but outside you're acting like a real gentleman. No, we should be very honest. We should be very honest and straightforward. So that's a Brahminical quality, and that will help us to cultivate real knowledge. Just by if we like cheating all the time, cheating and deceiving people, you're not going to cultivate real knowledge. You're never going to come to an understanding of the truth. And then finally, this is what it culminates in. So this is what it culminates in: full knowledge and full faith in God. So if we develop all these qualities like truthfulness, sense control, tolerance, everything, then like it's saying, it helps us develop full knowledge. And then obviously if you have full knowledge, then you'll have love for God, definitely. The only reason why do we not love God is because we're ignorant. But if you actually had knowledge about God and know just how beautiful God is, how powerful God is, how wealthy God is, how famous God is, how renounced God is, like these opulences of God, 6 opulences. If you knew that, then automatically you'd love God. Why do we not love God? Because we don't know anything about him. We don't know how beautiful he is. We don't know how powerful he is, like that. We're so ignorant. But as soon as you have knowledge, then definitely you'll develop love for faith in God, faith and love in God, and you'll want to serve God like that. And Prabhupada's pointing out, like I said, that it's not automatic that you develop these qualities. It has to be trained or educated. It's not just by birth. So Prabhupada's obviously pointing out the defects of the modern Indian caste system, the modern Hindu caste system. That's not Vedic, that just by birth you're designated. Okay, you're born in a Sudra family, then automatically rubber stamp, you're a Sudra. You're born in a Brahmin family, automatically rubber stamp, you're a Brahmana. It's not like that. It has to be, cultivated. There has to be education. Just like is anyone automatically a doctor? Are you automatically an IT specialist? Are you automatically a mechanic? No, you have to go to get the training. You have to get the education. You might be born in a family of IT, but that doesn't matter. Still, you have to go to the course and do the IT. You might be born in a family of engineers, like I was. You know, my father's an engineer. And my brother actually followed his example and became an engineer, but I didn't, you know, I went far opposite, you know, so it's what I'm saying is it's not automatic. But like it's mentioned that, you know, that, what does Prabhupada say? That just as being born the son of a big man affords one a chance to become a big man, so being born the son of a Brahmana gives one a chance to become a Brahmana. But such a birthright is not everything, for one still has to attain the Brahminical qualification. So yeah, I mean, yeah, if your family is an engineer, for example, there's a good chance that by associating with them, that you're also going to develop that interest and those qualities, but it's not automatic. But there is a chance, you know, if your father is a very learned Brahmana, and he's doing yagyas and pujas and everything like that, there's a good chance you might follow in his footsteps, but it's not automatic. And we see that, you know, many times. So you still have to develop those qualities through some education, through training. So that can be changed, what your birth situation was, you know, that, and that was the majority of Prabhupada's disciples, who Prabhupada trained them as Brahmanas, but they came from all kinds of backgrounds. Mainly the background that Prabhupada's disciples came from was like Sudras, or even less than Sudras. Actually, according to the Vedas, we would call the Western meat-eating families, we would call them Malechas and Yavanas. You know, Malechas and Yavanas, even below the four castes, not even a Sudra, because a Sudra still follows rules, but you know, in the West, you know, we don't follow any rules, we just do whatever we like. So, but Prabhupada brought up those, you know, from Malecha and Yavana families. He trained them how to become proper Brahmanas, and they did, you know. So by their qualities, you know, then their designation changes. They're not a Malecha anymore. They've stopped eating meat, because that's one of the qualities of a Malecha, is they're a meat eater. So, and means we're unclean. So they're unclean and they eat meat and everything like that. So, but if you don't do that anymore, okay, no more meat, and you're going to be clean and everything like that, then your designation changes. You know, we wouldn't call you a Malecha anymore. Then you're a Brahmana. So it's by the symptoms that the person is displaying. So by their behavior, by their activities, they'll have certain symptoms. So it's by those symptoms. You know, like if you see someone walking down the street drinking wine, okay, you can tell by that symptom, okay, I see him drinking wine, that he's an alcoholic, you know, like that, is a drunkard, like that. So by certain symptoms, you can tell, okay, what kind of category that person is, like that. So also, if someone has got all the Brahminical symptoms, okay, they're truthful, they're tolerant, they're simple, they're knowledgeable, everything like that, okay, they must be a Brahmana. And if someone is also lying and cheating and duplicitous and everything, then you know they're like a Malecha, you know, they're definitely not a Brahmana. So it's by the symptoms. So they're by their karma, so by their activities. Then that's what we do. You can change the person by changing their activities. So we want to change the activities, you know, and by that, then we'll develop different qualities. So we might have been doing the activities that was in the mode of ignorance or the mode of passion, but if we adopt the activities that fitting the mode of goodness, sattva guna, then you change. So that's what we want to do, you know, that the activities, that's very important, what we actually do, and you actually develop the qualities according to those that fit those activities. So yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, in India, a lot of them regarding caste system, they just take it literally, and as you said, by birth, and so that's and they've gone against the Veda, as Prabhupada said. They don't understand. So they say Brahmanas born in a Brahmana's family is a Brahman. It's not the case. But in India, they're mistreating people based on that. Yeah. Still, I mean, yeah. So if everybody would have known what actually Veds are saying, then that's totally different. But these qualifications, Shudra or Kshatriya or Vaishya, these are basically um, they are basically for for a society to live peacefully. I mean, it's you might be doing different kinds of duties, but that doesn't mean a Shudra is doing less important duty than anybody else, because if all of them become Brahmana, who's going to actually claim or whatever?
Yeah.
If all of them become Kshatriya, who's going to do other stuff? So everyone has importance. It's just that we say that Brahmana is important, but no, it's everyone is important. Every because without that, society won't work.
Correct.
Grow.
Yeah.
That's important. That's God's classification. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not the point of discrimination. It's not. Anybody can, progress, as you said, qualification, as this is said. You get qualified, you will be a Brahma if you choose this family. So that understanding in Indian society is not there. I mean, it's getting there, but I don't think so.
Yeah, it's misdirected, very misdirected. But this system comes from God, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. And it's actually these four different divisions in society compared to the four divisions in the human body. The Brahmana is compared to the head, the Kshatriya is compared to the arms, just like the arms protect the body. So like the arms protect the body, so the Kshatriyas protect society. Like the head gives direction to the body, you get direction from your head. So the Brahmanas give direction to society. And the stomach, the Vaishyas are compared to the stomach. So just like the stomach feeds the body, so the Vaishyas, they feed the society. And the Sudras are compared to the legs. So just like the Sudras, they are doing a lot of work. So for society, so the legs obviously are doing work. We're carrying so many loads and doing our work with the help of the legs. And like you say, they're all important. I mean, if you didn't have your stomach, I mean, how would you function? If you didn't have your arms, if you didn't have your leg, I mean, you could say, I love my head, but I hate my legs. No, you don't do that, because, I love my legs and I also love my head. Of course, I mean, you could survive without arms and you could survive without legs, but you can't survive without a head. So, I mean, true. I mean, the Brahmana is very important, but still we don't want to minimize that. Yeah, my legs are useful, and my arms are useful, so every part of the body is useful. In the same way, every division of work and society is also very useful. If you had only Brahmanas, 100% Brahmanas, but who's going to feed the Brahmanas? They're going to go hungry and they're not going to be able to study the scriptures anymore. So, you definitely need, some people doing Vaishya work, some people doing Kshatriya. I mean, that was a problem even in the story of Tukaram and Panduranga, that Shivaji Maharaj was very attracted to the life of bhakti, and he wanted to just become a bhakta of Panduranga and, do nice singing and dancing and hear the poems from Tukaram and everything. He was very attracted. He wanted to give up all this fighting business and that. But Tukaram didn't encourage him to do that. He said you should stay as the Kshatriya. It's very important. And actually the Muslims at the time did take advantage of that Shivaji was, wanting to go more to a peaceful Brahminical life. and giving up this, passionate Kshatriya life. So they attacked at the temple at that time when Shivaji was doing his prayers and everything like that. And luckily, I mean, Tukaram prayed to Pangaranga himself, the Lord, to save them. And the Lord saved them from the Muslims. He bewildered them. He confused their minds with a kind of Maya, yoga Maya. It seemed like there was hundreds of Shivajis and thousands, and they were everywhere. And in the film, anyway, there's an early, I think 1920s or 1930s black and white film with Marathi language with English subtitles, and beautiful film. I cry every time I see that film. But yeah, just depicting that life of Tukaram, and that was about 500 years ago. Around that time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present, then Tukaram was there, Shivaji and all these kind of personalities were there. So, but very good lessons from that. So yeah, you have to have Kshatriyas, otherwise people are, the dacoits and gundas are going to walk all over you. And what kind of Brahminical culture, how are you going to read your scripture if some gunda is beating on your door, to go and rape your family and steal everything? I mean, how are you going to be a peaceful Brahmin and reading scripture and chanting Hare Krishna? So you need people, that are going to protect, society from all these low-class people. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. The nature of the material world is that there's always going to be people in the mode of ignorance and people in passion, and they're going to just try to disturb you. They're going to try to disturb you. So that's why it's scientific. The Lord has created this system where you have, intelligent people giving direction. You have, a military kind of class to give protection. Then you have a productive class feeding, and you have that, labor working class like that. So they're all very essential, very essential. But yeah, these classes are developed by having the qualities that, matching that particular kind of work. You have to have the qualities. So therefore, there's some kind of education there in the Vedic system. Vedic culture is all about education. You need to be trained to be a Brahmana. You have to be trained to be a Kshatriya, have to be trained to be a Vaishya, trained to be a Sudra. It's not automatic. There has to be some cultivation, of these things like that. It's a really scientific culture, amazing. Yeah. So the best way to live, if we followed the Vedic culture, everyone would be so peaceful, and we'd be materially very prosperous also. We'd be very wealthy materially. I mean, why was India being invaded by every other Tom, Dick and Harry country on the planet? Because India was so wealthy. Why did everyone go and attack India and plunder India? Because India has so much wealth. Now the question is, why was India so wealthy? Not Africa, not Russia, not America. No one was invading all these other places. They didn't have any wealth. Why was it just by chance that India was super wealthy?
Because they were following the Vedic or the gods way mostly. I mean, whatever. So I think there are so many purports in Prabhupada says the way of perfection of life is to follow the, what God is saying. Way. So that is the way of perfecting. So when you are perfect, then God provides everything. So when
God provides everything, more than what you need. You got it like falling on your head, so much stuff. I mean, they would have like just gold and jewels like lying on the ground. You didn't even have to make a mine and go into the earth. It's just lying on the side of the riverbank, gold and jewels and everything like that. It's just so much. And as you know, so much silk, so much spices, so much, education was there. Everything, abundance of food and, beautiful clothing and beautiful architecture and paintings, and everything was just the best. And that's because, God was pleased by their bhakti, by their devotion, and gave them all the material, facilities. And of course, every other person on the planet came to plunder them, and exploit and everything like that. But that's what we should understand, that we should develop a culture to please God, and then automatically you'll get everything you need and more. You'll get all the sense gratification you want, just by serving God. So it's not that we're against sense gratification, but it's sense gratification with God, plus God, not minus. Not without God, not without God, not minus, but plus. That's what yoga means, right? Yoga means plus, or to connect.
Yeah.
So we're interested in a life, plus God, not minus God, like that. If you live a life minus God, yeah, that's your choice, but then be prepared that you might not have all the sense gratification you want. Then you might not have the money that you want, you might not have the wife that you want, you might not have the health that you want, all the things that you need. Good chance that you won't get it, because it's very inauspicious. Do you know the words Shubha and Ashubha? Yeah, so very auspicious, Shubha, things going well, and Ashubha means it's not going very well, so that's what you get. Like being in your parents' house and you're a rebel, then probably it's not going to go so well for the kid, if they're rebellious, to their parents.
Yeah.
That's just natural, Yeah.
So
Some important points here. It's saying here, if you just think that, I'm a Brahmana because my father's a Brahmana, and you become proud, then it's saying here, it once becomes degraded and falls from the path of self-realization, and thus his life's mission as a human being is defeated. So this is what happens, that, and there's a saying, right? Pride comes before the fall. Pride comes before the fall. So being proud, that I'm born in a Brahmin family, I'm a Brahmana. And then the real danger with pride is we think I'm very big, and we tend to, in that mentality of thinking I'm very big, I'm very important, we tend to abuse other people. We tend to push down others. We see that, the Brahmanas push down the Sudras and so forth. And as soon as you push down someone else, what's the problem with that? What problem does that create when you push down someone else?
basically you're going against the Brahminical culture. I mean, not treating other people respectfully. I mean, and not. I mean, as said, everyone is a soul. I mean, so treat them differently.
Yeah.
You're not a Brahman if you're treating somebody like that. Probably.
Yeah.
One of yeah. So you're not following God's law. That everyone, irrespective
Yeah.
of what their wherever whether they are Brahman or Shudra or Vaishya. But at the end of the day, they are the soul. Even if a dog, if you're not treating them properly, disrespectful
Yeah.
or in violence,
Yeah.
that's not you're going against law, God's law. So you'll be suffering.
Yeah, that's right. So then you suffer. So that's the thing. If you push anyone else down, then obviously God loves everyone, right? They're all his children. So if one child pushes down another child, then the father, the supreme father, is going to be upset. And then that child's going to get a kick up the bum, so then your life, like it said here, is degraded. You become degraded, and then you're not going to go on the path of self-realization. God's going to push that one person down. And that's mentioned in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that if you become atheistic and go against God's laws and like act to push down other living entities and so forth, then God pushes that soul down to a lower and lower species of life. So you lose the opportunity in the human form to go up and get liberated, but rather you get the opposite. You get pushed down further and further and into more and more ignorant species. And that's also God's mercy, to push some proud, arrogant human being, to push him down into a lower species in his next life. That's also God's mercy, because if you misuse that human form, you can do a lot of damage. You know what I'm saying? Because we have a brain, because a human being has a big brain, if you misuse that big brain, you can do havoc. And we see that today in the world. There's so much chaos to the environment and the climate and, you know, hurting other people and wars and so many things and killing and raping and everything. So with that big brain, if you misuse it, it's terrible damage. So what God does, you're doing terrible damage. I'm going to put you in the body of as a worm in your next life. So you can't do any more damage. So that's mercy, you know, to stop that soul from creating more havoc. Okay, we take him out of that position and put him in a situation where he can't hurt anyone, you know, and to put him in the body of a tree. You're not going to hurt anybody anymore. You're stuck in the tree body for, you know, for 700 years, you know. So then you know, it's like that. You're out in the public and you hurt the public. So what does the government do? They take you out of the public and they put you in jail, and then you're in your cell and you can't hurt anybody anymore, you know, after you know, shot down 50 people or whatever, you know, then they completely take you out of the picture, so you can't hurt a fly, you know. So that's what God does, and that's his mercy to stop that person creating further bad karma like that. So, but it's a tragedy because you had an opportunity to go up and out of here, but you misused it for bad things, and you've gone degrade down, down, down. So human life is said to be, you know, this is where we have a choice, you know, that you can if you do the right things, you can go up and out and be happy forever, or you can go really down into chaos, you know. Whereas other than human, it's sort of automatic. You slowly go next life, up, slowly up, until you reach the human. And the human is where you can go down or up. But all the animals and the plants and birds, they're just automatically progressing, evolving, you know, the evolution up, next, like that. So, but human life is very, very rare and very important, valuable, because we can get liberated, but also very dangerous. Because, you know, and that's what comes with you know, a high position, you could say, with authority, is responsibility. You should always remember that. If you have an authority position, a big position, because human life means you've got a big position. If you're in a human body, you have a big position. But with the big position, don't forget, becomes a big responsibility. And you see that if someone's in a big position and they misuse it, they crash, you know, straight down, you know, crash straight down, you know. So, I mean, it's the thing, if you don't have a big position, then you don't have much responsibility, right? But we have that automatic. Of course, even within human society, you've got humans that have big positions, so they've got even more, you know, responsibility that comes with that. You know, it means responsibility means, you could say, accountability. You know, you will be held accountable. You know, if you make the wrong choice, that responsibility means, you know, you'll be that response, you know, will come back to you. So, you know, you'll be held accountable. Whereas, like, if an animal, like if a tiger eats a human or eats a sheep or whatever, it's not going to be held accountable for that. But, you know, if a human being does something wrong, it will be held, you know, accountable. So, yeah, human life is very serious like that. So we want to, you know, make the right choices. And that's why, like here, the devotee is praying to the Lord, please guide me. You know, please make sure I don't make the wrong choices. You know, please help me to make the right choices. You know, to make the right choices, you know, we need knowledge. So where do we get that knowledge from? We pray to God, you know, please enlighten me, please guide me. And also we approach the guru, you know, please enlighten me. I don't know what to do, you know, please tell me what to do. You know, so this is what a human being should do. We should approach someone that knows the truth, you know, and find out the truth before we act. Because you want to have that knowledge before you act. Because if you act without having the knowledge and you make the wrong choice and you do the wrong action, then you're going to be held accountable. It's too late, because you know, you're human. You know, you will be accountable. Like Prabhupada says, you can't go to a country and say, Oh, I didn't know it was wrong to drive on the left-hand side of the road because in my country I drive on the right. They're not going to take that as an excuse. They don't know. You're a human being. You have to find out what's the right side of the road to drive on. You can't plead, ignorance. Oh, I didn't know which side to drive on. No, you have to find out, mate, before you drive. That's right. Before you get in the car and drive, you have to find out what side of the road to drive on. And that happened to Prabhupada in Mauritius. In Mauritius, he was being driven somewhere. In Mauritius, they followed the British system, drive on the left-hand side. But some tourists were in Mauritius, and they came from the American system. So they were driving on the wrong side of the road. So they came around the corner and head on with Prabhupada's car. Head on with Prabhupada's car like that. But obviously those people will be held accountable. That, you drive on the wrong side of the road and cause an accident, you're going to be punished like that. So human being is like that, it's a great responsibility. We'll be held accountable for actions. So, and the thing is, because the main quality in the material world is ignorance. So it means if you don't have the knowledge, what choice will you make? Will you make the right choice or you'll make the wrong choice?
Well, it's going to be, most probably it's going to be wrong.
That's right. If just think about this. If you're ignorant, you don't have knowledge, and you have a choice, obviously, this way or this way, which one are you going to make? Most likely, you're going to make the wrong choice, without knowledge. You're going to make the wrong choice, and that's so common in modern day society, people making wrong choices because they don't have knowledge. And if it's simple, and if you have the knowledge, then the choice is there, but you'll make the right choice. You have the knowledge and you follow that, you'll make the right choice. But if you don't know what to do, then you're going to make the wrong choice. So the solution is you have to know what to do. Of course, if you know what to do and still make the wrong choice, then that's not good either. Because in the Western society, they make the wrong choice when they don't know what to do. But like in Indian culture, if you have that from birth or whatever, Indian culture, and still making the wrong choice, that's very bad. That's very bad. So Prabhupada said like that too, the reactions someone gets when they're knowingly doing the wrong thing, that's even more worse than unknowingly doing the wrong thing. I mean, unknowingly doing the wrong thing is bad too. Like I said, those people driving on the wrong side of the road. But if you knowingly do the wrong thing, that's even another level of, that stupidity like that. So, but that's the thing. We always have free choice. We always have free choice. But at least it gives us a chance. If you have the knowledge, it gives us a chance to do the right thing. Whereas if you don't have the knowledge, you've got no chance, like that. So still, you're going to have free choice after you get the knowledge, whether you're going to use it or not. But at least it gives us a glimmer of hope, of opportunity there to progress. Yeah. Mm.
That's very true. I mean, because God's law are not like nobody's forcing it, so people are not very conscious of God, basically. So they are not even looking at the place where I can get the real information, right? It's like most of the people don't even go towards scripture. Oh, that's a story, Mahabharata. What are you talking about? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's there, but it's because they are more so materially engrossed, they can't take it up, and the suffering, they are going through suffering still. Some people live their whole life not even touching the what's the real, in ignorance, basically, not aware of. Just like we have laws, God has laws as well. I mean, well, some people are lucky who get the Vedic, just get some direction, and then that's the difficult point, I think. But that's the way to perfection. I mean, that's what Prabhupada said, I guess. You follow the things which has laid out in Vedas correctly, and through Guru or some or devotees or anybody who knows that, and then that's the way to perfection, I think. And
Mm.
that's what we all want, isn't it? We want to live here perfectly happy. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I mean, the trap with the mode of goodness, the trap with being a Brahmana, because it's still within the material world, mode of goodness. It's still material. So there is a trap with that too, like with ignorance and passion, there's a trap. So what is the trap with goodness is that you have knowledge. So with that knowledge, you're making better choices. And with making better choices, you're happier. So that's the two symptoms of mode of goodness is knowledge and happiness. So because of that knowledge, you're making better choices, which mean you're going to be happier. You're going to be doing good karma, so you're not going to get the pap, the suffering and everything. So, but the trap with that is because you're feeling happier, you're feeling better than others. You know, I'm better than you. I'm better than you because I have more knowledge. I'm happier. You know, you guys are suffering because you're ignorant, but I have knowledge. I'm better than you, and I'm happy and everything. But that's immediately a trap because you become proud. But that's against what real knowledge is, because real knowledge is that God is great and I am this big, you know, I'm minute, you know, I'm Anu. God is Vibhu, he's great, I'm Anu. You know, so if you have real knowledge, you'll realize I'm nothing, you know, I'm so insignificant. I'm just don't know anything. I'm just, my nature is I'm ignorant. You know, I'm so small and I'm helpless. I can't do anything with unless Krishna helps me. I can't even lift my finger and scratch my head, you know, without Krishna helping me. So this is real knowledge, you know, that automatically keeps you humble. So if a person is anything else other than humble, it means they're ignorant, you know, because you can't be a proud person and have knowledge at the same time. As soon as you become proud means you've lost your knowledge. So because if you had knowledge, you'd be humble, you know, like that. So like that. But that is a trap potentially that, you know, you have knowledge, you're making better decisions, which is you're doing good karma and you're getting happiness as a result of that. And due to that happiness, you're feeling superior to others and I'm bigger than you and better than you. But that's that you have to protect yourself from that. And that's why you have to always reinforce that knowledge every day. That Krishna is God, he's great, and I am small. I'm just the servant. You know, and I'm Krishna's servant, but I'm also your servant, you know, and that's what pleases Krishna. So you're just servant of everyone, you know, very humble and meek and everything like that. So a real Vaishnava or real devotee is always very humble. That's the quality of every devotee. They're naturally very humble. If we are not humble and become proud, it means, you know, you've deviated from the culture. And there'll be a reaction to that. And the reaction will be Krishna will give you a kick in the bum. And like that, you know, just so we should save ourselves from that, because all we're doing by becoming proud is creating future suffering for ourselves. I mean, you'll be causing other people to suffer in the meantime, but in the long term, it's us that's going to suffer the most if we become proud. So we should always be what we are, which is very small. You know, we should. We're never big. You know, if we think we're big, that's illusion. You know, in the past I was small, in the present I'm small, in the future I'm going to be small. So, but the real thing is that it's okay to be small. You know, that's our real happy life, to be small. That as long as we're with Krishna, who's big, then we're safe and we're secure. And like we talked about in the Fearless talk about being that little dog with a big master. As long as that little dog is with the big master, that's a good life. It's not bad. It's not bad being a little dog as long as you're with the big master. But it is bad if you're a big dog, you know, without any master. You're a stray dog, you know. So when it's not going to make our life better trying to become big. What's going to make our life better is taking shelter of Krishna, who is big, you know, like that. So, and just accepting that, you know, that I'm happy being small. I don't want to become even a big devotee. You know, I don't want to become a big guru. I don't want to become a big devotee. I don't want to become a big demigod or a big anything. I don't even want to become a big servant of God. I'm happy being just a small servant of God. You know, so that's what every advanced devotee thinks like that. I'm satisfied just having a little bit of service. If I've got a little bit of service to the Lord, you know, I'm very happy. I don't want a big position and power and all the fame and all this things like that, because these are traps, you know. Of course, if Krishna arranges that we end up with a big position or whatever, that's just, we accept that as service. But we don't desire to be big like that. I don't want to become Arjuna. I don't want to become Mother Yashoda. I don't want to become Radharani or anything. You know, I'm happy just to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. So it said das anudas anudas, the servant of the servant of the servant, like that. And that's the mentality of advanced devotees. They're just happy to have a little service like that and not want to be big and great and powerful. And I'm not an Ishvara controller and all that kind of thing like that. So.
Yeah, ego is the pride is the thing which can take you down.
Yes. Yeah.
That was very nice. Thank you very much. I think we are done.
Likewise.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a nice week. All the best.
You too. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.